celluloid, and we're turning it into music and podcast for you.
Welcome, everyone, once again to another episode of We Came From Celluloid. I am Nicky P, here as always with my another brother, bandmate, and, personal paragon of virtue, Mr. Brian Pritchard. How are you doing today, Mr. Pritchard?
I am splendid. It's just a beautiful tornado of activity, my friend. And we are swimming in it.
Splendid is definitely one of my favorite words. Um, there's this very famous band known as Maroon 5 that used to have a different name in which they had a song, Captain Splendid. It's a very fine song indeed, that most people have never heard.
Was it literally the same band or just same singer or what?
It is literally the same band. Every member of the band, they used to be a band called Kara's Flowers, and then they started working with, I believe, Green Day's producer, and he told them to change their name, and then they became famous.
Okay. Well, I'm sure they're grateful.
Oh, I'm sure they've made. It's, by the way, it's really crazy. They were actually, in some ways, I think, a better band as Kara's Flowers. Like, you can see kind of where they were gonna go eventually, but they were still really young and, like, probably a little too obsessed with the Beatles at the time. So their songs were a little bit more meandering and less, pop centric, but they were way, way more interesting. I thought. But I'm a music guy. I'm not a let's go out and be a pop star guy necessarily. So what are you gonna do?
I sent you that Ecca Vandal, which I know you didn't seem to really vibe with. Connor showed it to me at practice. Connor has been one of the more consistent people to turn me on to new music. Somehow I think he's always out there looking. And then Friday nights before practice he'll toss stuff up on YouTube. But I bring up this Ecca Vandal in response to that because I was doing a bit of the deep dive, and she's got an album coming out like next week. But it's the first album in 9 years, right? And so album one, self-titled album one in 2017, and then album two is coming out next week. Right? And I'm thinking, wow, that's fascinating. And there's at least one or two of the singles for this new album have millions of views on YouTube. And as a quick aside, it's fascinating to live in a world where that doesn't mean that you're famous. You know what I mean? Like that having millions of views of a thing doesn't mean you're a household name, or like, that's bizarre to me. But no, it just makes me wonder, like, have they been continuing to plug away for all this time? And there's probably singles and other like new material that came out, but yeah, certainly not another album. I mean, we're in the same boat, but we're also not like young pretty people. They were a band of young pretty people. You know what I mean? And I was going like, damn, if it didn't work for you 10 years ago, like, I don't know. Part of it's just impressive whenever anybody stays in the game. I admire lifers.
I have long since said that that's the only thing different between the people that make it and the people that don't is staying in it long enough. Like, eventually you're probably going, just by the sheer odds of being in a place long enough, you're gonna find something that works eventually, right? Or you would probably quit. So you keep doing it long enough, you'll probably find that thing. I also did a deep dive because I'm never one to just let one terrible, terrible song like turn me off to an artist. I did discover that she has many, many terrible songs that in no way endeared me to the artist. But,
But they were all very different from each other, right? Will you at least acknowledge that there was a range?
well, yeah, and that was actually part of the problem. Like, her range was, you probably should have a couple different bands selling this product that is different at every turn. Like, part of the idea of having a brand or a persona and all that is so that you can, find people that like a thing that you do. When you're constantly doing different things, it's difficult to like find what that thing is. Like she was rapping horribly on some tracks and she was shrieking on some other tracks, and ultimately she's just not for me.
You must hate Ween.
Oh no, I love Ween. Love Ween.
Oh, so what's the difference?
Um Honestly, probably a penis. While I don't go out to outwardly not like female vocalists,
Kid, I gotcha.
no, while I don't outwardly go out to not like female vocalists, I tend to not like female vocalists.
That's interesting. I didn't know that. Um,
Now, granted, I do have female vocalists that I fucking love, like Gwen Stefani, maybe one of the greatest singers of all time in my world. The girl was it the girl from Camera Obscura. Could listen to for every minute of the rest of my life and be very content. It's just I'm super super picky about it.
Mars Volta comes to mind. Mars Volta, I've been a fan of for a long time, and they're an odd one to kind of pin down in terms of band identity. They've made a point of sort of being almost hostile to any attempts to, like, you know what I mean, like categorize them and stuff like that.
Oh no, no, they're open. They're openly hostile. No, they're not even like kind of hostile. They're openly hostile to any type of band identity. And they're a band. I'm gonna be honest. I don't particularly like Mars Volta. I respect Mars Volta and what they do, but like musically, it's just I don't know. Never quite got to me. And it's funny is because where I come from the emo world, and they're very much a part of that whole second wave emo thing.
Well, at the drive-in, they have their roots in it, sure.
To me, I hear very little difference between the two, other than maybe a little bit in more of a defined song structure. But
I don't know. I think they're fast. Have you done much of a deep dive on Mars Volta?
I mean, I'll say this: not in a number of years. Like when they were around and popular, they were constantly a part of the shit the people that I was around and whatnot. And
So probably those first two records, but maybe not as much.
yeah, no, I mean, and maybe that's to my detriment that maybe I just didn't like those first two records, and they've done more interesting things since. But you know, that's sometimes unfortunately how it goes. You get attracted to what you get attracted to, and artists do change. Like the first two Weezer albums are the best Weezer albums by fucking miles because Matt Sharp, no matter how much you want to pretend he had no effect on the band, like shit was better when he was in the band.
Yeah, it's making me think of this deep versus shallow sort of concept that oddly I remember first coming up in the business world, where they talk about you can have a network that's like a mile wide but only an inch deep, or you know what I'm saying? It's like or whatever, a half mile wide and 10 feet deep, or whatever, goofy metaphor you want to use. But I was thinking of that same notion of going like when we were talking with Joey Steele last night, like I noted with interest, some of it was even before we hit record, that you guys were clicking on rattling off a bunch of bands that you guys knew that I didn't, and I don't think of myself really as being a music connoisseur. I'm more of a movie like connoisseur, right? Even than I go out and find bands. With bands, I've tended to be more on the um not as wide, but going very deep, right? That if my instinct has always been, if I found even a single song I liked, that really moved me. I may have shared this on the show before in life with you, but one of my earliest memories of the relationship with music was hearing "We Will Rock You" and "We Are the Champions," hearing those Queen songs, probably Bohemian Rhapsody and Wayne's World as well. And then just being like, I want to hear every song that they ever made, and going to the library and getting every CD out that my local library had, using the system to order CDs from other libraries. Just like, I wanted to know what was their discography, and it would work the same way with movies, where the Leonard Maltin movie guide had this like primitive version of IMDb in the back where you could like look up directors or actors by alphabetically, and it would have a list of their credits, and those things would loom large in my imagination in a pre on demand age, of going like, there was just these titles and these descriptions. And it was like, if your local video store didn't have it, if the local library didn't have it, if the record exchange didn't have it, then it was like this mystique could be formed and built up around like, yeah, what is that movie? What is that album? What is that song sound like? I kind of miss that, honestly. Like, I still approach things that way. It's just usually the answers are not hard to find. It's rare that there's a mystery anymore.
Well, so what I will say is yes, but that's until you start getting into niche things. So one of the things that did come up in the interview with Joey Steele is we were talking about like you're like, wow, you know people that he know people that like you fanboy over and stuff like this, and we were talking about but that's because it's not the world's biggest group of people. Like the people that are into punk rock is a very particular group of people, especially the ones that are like into hardcore and like all of the punk rock. People not the people say, "Oh, I listen to Green Day and Blink-182," modern pop versions of it. Like that early 90s skate rock and stuff. Because I would tell you right now, I had a song that sticks with me. It was on one compilation from when I was a kid, and I can find nothing else about like this song. I could find references to it on the internet, but the song does not exist on the internet, Brian. Nowhere. Cannot find it. I had to go buy a disc player because modern computers don't come with CD players. So I had to go and buy a CD player and find someone that had that comp and is selling it secondhand on eBay to find this one song that I wanted to hear from my youth. And that's mind you, you go and find like this one bedtime story about Peter Pan's shadow from your childhood on the internet. I can't find this one song by what was ostensibly a popular punk band from the 90s.
No, you're right. That came into my mind too.
There are places that things do get wonky when you're looking for them. Like the fan bases aren't that big, but the people that are there, like this is your shallow versus deep thing. Like it's the 1,000 true fans model. Do you need 100,000 people that worship you, or do you need 1,000 people that worship you? 100,000 people that are kind of lukewarm about you, I guess is what I mean to say. Or 1,000 people think you're the greatest thing ever. You want the diehards. When you as a marketer, you go through your email list. You don't want the people that have never fucking read your emails. You get rid of those people. They're dead weight on your email list. You want the people that read everything you have to say and are going to eventually buy something.
Yeah, no, that's true. There's some power in knowing what your real numbers are, certainly. And
Taking it back to that girl that we're talking about. It's very good that she is so good at turning me off because I'm never gonna waste her time by being a fluffy number. I'm not gonna buy her stuff. So it's just best I stay out of that world. Don't communicate with those people. Let them enjoy the thing that they enjoy. She's carving her niche.
well, I'm one of the fans that I want to find for us, if that phrasing makes sense. Meaning that I find her stuff, I get excited. I do the deep dive. I buy it. I join the email list. I'm paying attention now and going, now my antenna is out for when a tour is going to be within even a few hours. It doesn't even have to be in Cleveland. I'll drive. You know what I mean? And that's what I do with the artists I love. And then I send it to you. I send it to Jimmy B. It's like I'm anybody that I'm texting with that day, I'm sort of going like, hey, check this out. Right. And, that's what we need. That's what everybody needs, right? Is you need some of those people in your life that
I mean, you never listened to the song I sent you the other day, but that's whatever. We don't have to make a thing out of it.
man, listen, when the timing of things matters, right? I don't drop what I'm doing to fucking click on links that anybody sends me. It has nothing to do with you or any other individual.
You know what? I'm glad that I am just anybody in this world there, Brian. Thank you so much.
Oh, in a group thread, it's not like you sent me a fucking personalized note, you know what I mean? Going, here you go, Brian, I thought of you.
It wouldn't have been your thing one way or the other. That's why I sent it to the group thread. I'm just gonna bust your balls about it.
To my earlier comment, in a way, I'm not looking for new music, right? I don't know. Yeah, there's with movies, I definitely am. I'm looking for new movies, even as a collector. That's always been a funny thing over the years is like I own hundreds of titles, right? And it's like, what are we going to watch tonight? And you're pulling up, Netflix and just being like, yeah. But even there, I don't usually browse for movies in that platform either. I don't know. My methodology for what I watch in the film front tends to be a sort of intuitive following of a thread, a loose thread, with while making allowances for connections that I didn't see coming, right? I'll give you an example. I've found myself twice this year. I recently watched Death Becomes Her, and then I watched A River Wild. And I didn't watch either one of them in order to watch Meryl Streep. But now that I did watch those two Meryl Streep performances and liked and had a good time at both, I'm sort of going in my mind going like, I haven't watched her in Deer Hunter in a minute. Deer Hunter is fucking great, and she's great in it, right? So, like, Deer Hunter wouldn't have come up except for the other two. And then I haven't watched it yet, but, like, is it possible that that'll just lean into sort of a mini Streep marathon, right? Of just then pulling up and scrolling through her IMDb. I mean, Devil Wears Prada 2 is out right now, but I'm not really interested in that because I cannot abide Anne Hathaway. Otherwise I would consider it, but she really looks.
What's your issue with Anne Hathaway? Out of curiosity.
I find her tremendously untalented and unengaging. I think she sucks, and I think her screen presence sucks. And yeah, I mean I've seen her. She's in a lot of movies.
She was in the Princess Diaries.
I don't dig it. And one that comes to mind that is like a laughably bad performance where you go, how did you make this movie and then go on to be a star of any sort? Have you ever heard of a movie called Havoc?
I know of a sweet band named Havoc, but no.
She and I'm trying to remember the other actress is somebody else you'd recognize, but the whole movie is about like these rich white girls who want to go like date Hispanic gang members, because they think it's cool, you know what I mean? And like get in over their heads. I remember that the head of the tough, like Hispanic gang was Frederico from 6 Feet Under. Because that made me laugh too, right? It's like he's the sensitive, did you ever watch 6 Feet Under, the HBO series?
No, premium cable wouldn't have had it.
He was like a sensitive makeup artist that was like the most gifted at restoring dead bodies or whatever on because it's a show that takes place in a funeral home. That's a great series.
Yeah, no, you're right. I know of it. And I know it's supposed to be really good. It's one of those things that never crossed my path. Now, what I can say is, having you describe this movie Havoc, there's zero chance I would have ever watched that movie. Just even premise alone, I'm like, yeah, that's not for me.
I don't remember exactly what led me to watch it because no, it wouldn't have been something that I watched because I expected it to be good. You know what I mean? Like, no, certainly not. There must have been something.
It would have had to have been a lot of like full frontal nudity on the cover for me to care.
Yeah. Well, and to your point, that it honestly it could have been just that simple. That like that's an interesting phenomenon unto itself that has also gone away. Is that mainstream movies used to be kind of pandering to perverts a little bit more than they do now. That there's like multiple other outlets, and it's rare that I feel like a movie is specially made for horny dudes. Isn't that sad?
Well, hey, and they stopped selling, so, they can choose to do what they choose to do. You can deal with reality, or you can pretend it is not as so.
Well, in a way, I don't object. I don't object to the idea that
I'm not going to apologize for my penis and what it does to my brain. Sorry.
no, 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 no. That's not where I'm going with it. What came into my mind is that
I'm not gonna pretend that Thor wasn't naked for half of a movie.
I have empathy, where is what I wanted to communicate for what has mostly been women over the years being, I assume, pressured to various degrees. I remember hearing in some bonus feature years ago, like one of the Schlockmeister guys, Alan Ray or somebody like that, you know what I mean? Sitting there and being like, breasts, the cheapest special effect, you know what I mean? And just sort of going like, oh my God, that is it, isn't it? Right? Like that you didn't have to spend any money. You just had to like convince a beautiful young woman to get undressed. Right. And I'm not again also trying to say like, oh, it was all victims and tragedies or whatever, but I, 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 I think that there are people who are it. I have sympathy for women who are trying to become actresses that maybe don't. I don't know. I mean, I guess on the one hand, for men and women, leveraging their attractiveness can be part of the job. There's also character actors that have like a weird face or
I was listening to Scarlett Johansson bitch about this in particular the other day, and in the early 2000s, there weren't the roles for women that there are now. Like, well, actually, Hollywood is collapsing, and there are hardly any roles in Hollywood because there's no film studios making money. There's like a quarter of them that there used to be. So, yeah, there actually are far less roles, and you seem to do pretty all right, Scarlett Johansson, during that time period, and didn't seem to have a lot to say at the time.
well, and what's weird is that apparently the good roles she's picking now are in the world's worst fucking dinosaur movie or something. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah, exactly.
um,
And by the way, she did interesting roles. She was in freaking Ghost in the Shell. Like you did things that weren't just to be hot.
it's a weird jump to make, but just to try to summarize the thoughts succinctly, when Louis was talking about jerking off in front of female comedians and not clocking at the time that even though he was asking permission, right, that maybe he was putting them in a bad uncomfortable spot where like they were just aspiring comedians that they were on the road with him, they were excited about what the opportunity meant in terms of furthering their careers, and then to have this other overlay is like the kind of thing that at the very least you sort of go like, oh man, that fucking sucks, you know what I mean? Like, and that's what I'm talking about in the realm of going, I like the idea that somebody could want to be an actress and not like have every job be like, so your tits. So let's get to that. Like, and I say that as somebody who loves looking at women. You know what I'm saying? Like, so both things can be true. I just think it like somebody should have the freedom to pursue the career they want without needing to be sexualized. That's all. Like, if they choose to is one thing, but I feel like it was maybe more of a forced assumption. Like, hey, if you're gonna play in this game, like, I don't know. I don't know. I think there was more of an ugly side that hopefully has receded.
Oh, I mean, but the thing is, I think the side gets even uglier than that. Like, let's not pretend how much like, well, people are cagey about it. How much child abuse happened in that time period? Like, kids being taken advantage of. Like, even if you don't want to go all the way and believe sexually, despite like looking at how many of those actors turned out and trying to believe that nothing horrible sexually did happen to them, which I'm personally inclined to believe that it has. Like it that was an abusive system in general to pretend that like it only is abusive to one group, and maybe I think men deal with abuse differently, that like it manifested in a different way because you have plenty of men that have been abused in Hollywood. Brendan Fraser, Terry Crews, like they've openly talked about the abuse. I think men, it's abuse is different culturally to men because you're kind of programmed to ignore when you're being abused in a lot of ways. So it's just a weird fucked up system to begin with. That, you know, unfortunately, on the end of it is, hey, there's these beautiful things that we like to watch. Um, one of the things that, like,
And also, even to again last night's conversation, I like to assume that artists gathering together in pursuit of this, endeavor, has that beautiful sentiment happening into it as well. The idea that, like other institutions, like the church, like scouts, the entertainment business ends up being another institution where predators seem to recognize opportunity, right? And seized on it.
I think you're actually even shortchanging it there.
I don't think it's an inherently like natural side effect of just people fucking gathering. It shouldn't be, for fuck's sake.
Well, no, it is. That's the thing. It's not about people gathering. You're forgetting the important thing. It's power. Power will always draw sociopaths. Look at our fucking government. There's not a normal, sane person anywhere near the top of our government. To get there, you have to be a cutthroat lunatic. Period. Like you would never endure the things that would take to get to the top of government without being at least a little bit crazy enough to deal with that shit. And so, like, why is it going to be any different where the peaks of all of the money in our culture go to? Why would that not attract people that are fucked up and crazy too? And I think, you want to be in a Fortune 500 company, you want to be in one of the top CEOs. You know what it takes to do that. Like, it's just power. Power will always create fucked up situations, unfortunately, because that's just what it does. You know, one of the Louis C.K. thing is always weird to me in that, okay, you went to a comedian's fucking hotel room and you're going to avoid the fact that there are male female dynamics and pretend that, I guess, that's not a thing. I don't typically invite women back to my hotel room.
I don't like that line, dude. I mean, that to me drifts into you shouldn't have worn that dress territory. Not to be a prick about it, but I don't think that it's. I think that it is okay to leave allowance for somebody, yes, being naive. Sure, I can leave room for that, to say that somebody found themselves in that situation with naivete involved. Sure.
No, no, okay. I'm not trying to blame. I'm not. This isn't a blaming the person thing. This is your parents fucked up if they didn't teach you that. Period. If you're not aware that that could happen, somebody in your life didn't teach you right. Like like when I talk to my women about,
I don't know, man. Like again, like if we're on tour and like I guess we're I don't even I'm just saying, if we ever went on tour with like a young group of like female musicians, I would like to live in a world where they could feel comfortable hanging out because we're all, yes, hanging out in this hotel. It is also a bedroom, yes, but it's also a hangout, and
I would never even be in that situation. I would not be in that room, period. Just because it's too easy for someone to say something happened that didn't, or you know, then I'm gonna like, and more importantly, I would lobby my friends to not be in that position. Just fucking even the temptation of like that. Like, am I gonna go through all my friends? Are you in any way attracted to these younger women that are touring with us? Are you gonna lie about it, or what are you gonna do? You gonna hide it? Are you going to pretend that it's not a real thing? Like, it's it just seems like a bad situation happening.
no, but like any number of other like fields of discipline. I think of that movie Human Nature. I don't know if have you ever seen that one?
Sounds familiar, but offhand, I'm not realizing it.
Where they find the guy who's been like basically living as a caveman in the modern world, and they try to teach him table manners and shit like that, right? But there's a whole sequence in there where they've got an electric shock collar on him, and they're showing him pictures of pornography basically, and he keeps running up and like attacking the screen and like humping the screen, and they're going no, and shocking, giving him an electric shock, and it strikes me as like a funny simple representation of going, yes, of course, we walk through the world at any given time having perhaps sexual or violent urges or any number of things that are absolutely inappropriate for a civilized society, you know? And I just don't want to lean into the fucking shit, the ugly shit of it all. But yes, I also don't want to be naive in a way that makes people vulnerable. So yeah, I mean, having my own teenage daughter entering the adult world, yeah, there's certainly that talk about not fucking trusting anybody ever. You know what I mean? Like,
Well, if even without this, you know, one of my biggest conversations with my wife and my daughter always is spatial awareness. Just know and understand what's going on around you. Yeah, sure, 90% of the people you meet in a day might have the best intentions for you, but it only takes one with bad intentions. Period. Even, I don't know how to say what we had were necessarily bad intentions, but his intentions certainly didn't align with the intentions of the people that were going up there. And dude fucked up his whole life by having, poor intentions for somebody else or not aligning. I mean, I would always say, always lean into more communication than not. Like, but, you know, now, I will also say, do I think Louis a fucking creep for what he did? 110 fucking percent. Like, the idea of just, like, jerking off in front of a woman you barely know, yeah, it's a fucking creepy thing. Like, yeah, you're a creep. Do I not like him because he's a creep? Yeah.
see, and even in that respect, I want to go back to that, like other people's peccadillos. Like I use that expression, "Don't yuck somebody else's yum." Conceptually, people can be into whatever they're into. You know what I mean? And the idea that he got consent, it's like I nod my head at the thought process in a way, and maybe that makes me an asshole, right? Not at the particular it's not my interest, right? But I sit there and I go, no, like that was what you were into. You weren't trying to, from your perspective, impose that's just what you were into, and you were looking for somebody that wanted to play that game with you, right? And that's sort of what everybody's doing, sexually or otherwise, is we're trying to communicate with each other about what games we're willing to play with you. I am, at least, like I'm always dancing around going, what kind of games you want to play, Nick?
I had a conversation with a friend of I had a conversation with a friend of mine the other day who's really into tango. And he is very much a modern, Gen Z. And I was, there's this whole part of tango which is the ask. And it's like there's a way you like look at someone to like kind of go through this whole thing, and it's like it's all very nonverbal. But like you're like, okay, well, now you're starting to muddy the waters. Like, what is this informed consent, or not informed consent? What is it called? Like affirmative consent. You know, when you start, it's like part of the mystique of certainly the attraction to people is the just, they just knew, like it happened, or the organic nature of, everyone's just hoping, man, you get in that moment and everybody in that moment just knows. And you may think that you're in that moment and the one person is, the one person isn't, and now, oh, you just sexually assaulted me, it's, but do we want that moment to go away for everyone that's a genuine, like, positive moment for? If to For the few times that it's not, it's such a slippery fucking slope to me.
Well, I think setting is the overlay. Setting, right, is the answer to that question of where it becomes a distinction, right? Like I can't lean over the counter. I've had flirty moments with a store clerk before. Never sat there and leaned over the court. You know what I mean? Leaned in for a kiss. You know what I mean? Not once.
Now, no, no, no. Let's say you hand her the key card to your hotel room and invite her up. Now, don't you feel as though she's answered some of those questions for you?
But she's not a colleague. She's not, you know what I'm saying? It's like she's still. I'd say that the way we approach the general public in general public sort of settings is different than the workplace. It's different than, and in a way, something like the hotel after a show is almost still, I think, falls under that umbrella. If you're coworkers on a trip together, you know what I mean? Like, then just keep your dick in your pants.
I don't agree. Yes, we do lie a lot when we're in those.
So is the great tragedy that people don't get to pursue workplace romances, and you look and go, but what about all the great things that have instigated? I mean, I don't know. I suppose like no matter what rules come into play, the people that like have that level of true, like, no, we actually are on the same page, those fucking worlds are going to collide and couldn't be stopped anyway. You know what I mean? Sometimes, you know, the magnets are just really insistent, like, no, we're going to slap these two together. I mean, shit, Nick, do you remember how you and I met?
How did I come on to you at the bar?
The end. Yeah. No, no. I bring it up just because of how random and fortuitous it was, right? The story is, we'll bury it here at the end of this random episode. The origin story, sir, is we had a gig booked. Brian Knoll got in some trouble and couldn't make the show. The logical thing to do would have been to cancel the show, but I didn't. I went ahead and wrangled the who was available, which I think might have been like me, Jim Groves, and Connor. That might have been the night even that we did like an acoustic trio, believe me, one off, right? Like, acoustic trio performance. But like, I didn't cancel the show. I went to the show, and at the old, Foundry,
You were opening for Farley's band, right?
yeah, and instead of bailing on him, we still did it, and Kevin introduced us. I don't know how you ended up there, but I always joke and think, even though Farley likes me and I think he likes you too, I think we're both probably a lot for him. And I think he was basically just going, I'm going to make these two talk to each other, and so I don't have to. And I'm forever grateful.
Probably. Oh yeah, what a funny way. Uh-oh, look who I got, someone willing to join the room. So
I know.
all right, well, that means I guess this episode is called to a close, so we can record with our good buddy Luke for another thing indeed. Take it easy, folks.
And we're turning it into